once that I knew a revelation. The filament was not one thread, but two, wound about each other in immaculate delicacy. They twisted together during the most intolerable spasms, yet were quick to draw apart at the first relief, and with such subtlety of movement that I was certain I witnessed the life of my soul, seen at last, dancing like a dust tail above the flame. Then all was lost again. My bowels craked with oceanic disruption, ready to jettison whole fats, sweetmeats, and gravies of the old pleasure-soaked flesh, frantic as a traitor springing his leeks under torture. I would give up anything to ride lighter in the next wave of odium, and in the darkness of waves of flesh smacking raw waters of sound, I labored. I could not bury myself in such sulphurs. It was not the fumes, but the terror of suffocation, not death by fire, but the soil burying me. It was the clay. A vision came forward of clay sealing the nostrils and the mouth, my ears, and into the sockets of my eyes. I had lost all vision of the double filament. There was only myself in these buried caves, and the hammering of my gut. Yet if I were to be buried in the murk of these screaming, scalding wastes, I had gained a vision with which to torment myself, for I comprehended the beauty of my soul at just the moment I could not reach its use. I would perish with such ideas even as I gained them. A moment of peace arrived then in this storm and tumult of the pipes. I knew the solemn desolation of the subsided center of the hurricane, and in that calm I saw with sorrow that I might now be wise, without a life on which to work my wisdom. For I had a view of old dialogues. Once I had lived like master and slave. Now both were lost to each new seizure. Oh, the lost dialogue that had never taken place between the bravest part of me and the rest. The coward had been the master. Something came apart then in the long aisles of my pride, and I had a view into the fundament of pain, the view as beautiful as it was narrow. But now the mills of vituperation were turning again. Like a serpent whose insides have blown apart, I gave up, sued for peace, and gave birth to my bloody, clotting history of coiled and twisted eviscerate. Some totality of me went out of my belly, and I saw the burning figure of the two dissolve in flame. I would be no longer what I had been. My soul felt pained, humbled, furious at loss, and still arrogant as beauty itself. For the pain had ceased, and I was new. I had a body again. 1. The darkness was deep. Yet I had no doubt I was in an underground chamber 10 paces in length by half in width, and I even knew, just as quickly as a bat, that the room was all but empty. Stone was the surface of the walls and the floor. As if I could see with my fingers, I had only to wave an arm to feel the size of the space beyond my reach. It was exactly so remarkable as to hear voices by the hairs of one's nose. For that matter, I could smell the scent of stone. Say that an absence was in the air, some hollow that dwelt within another hollow, for I was aware of a granite coffer near to me, as aware indeed of its presence, as if my body had walked within. It was huge enough to be my bed. But a step away, as if on guard, were some aged droppings on the floor, pellets from a small fierce animal who had managed like myself to find its way here, and left its deposit and gone. For there was no skeleton to speak of the beast. Just the scent of some old urine-cursed dung. But where was the passage by which the animal could have entered? I breathed in the horror that comes when the air is close with an animal's mean excrement. That has its own message to give. Yet I could also recognize a pure bouquet of fresh night air that had chosen to enter this chamber. Had it come from a shaft in the rock used by the cat? In the dark, between 2 blocks of stone, my fingers soon found a niche not much greater in width than a man's head. Still, by its fresh breath, it must lead outside. The air that arrived through the shaft was only a whisper, not strong enough to stir one hair on a feather, but it offered the cool of the desert when the sun has been down for much of the night. Toward that cool